gonna have to send you to another school.
Jerry's out of eligibility.
Jeff.
Red shirt.
Jeff.
Sorry about that.
Well, thanks for coming. Nice to meet our new tailback. This is our first, I'll just make a couple comments and then answer questions for you. Thanks for coming. It was a great day. I thought it was going to be a very good day, but I put it in a great category. Obviously, I've done this long enough to know that now it's in the developmental phase. Once you get the letter of intent back, and we're going to develop as hard as we ever have. You know, just one quick comment that I don't know why it was kind of in a reflective stage a little bit during the bowl season when we just had time on our hands. And 1 out of 3, I just did a little study on my own, and you say you recruit 3 young men come walking down that aisle right here, and statistics show that 1 out of 3 disappear, they don't make it. Another of the 3 turns out to be okay, average, and then the 1 out of 3 turns out to be maximized, whatever he's capable of. I'm not saying great player, because not everybody's blessed to be a great player, but maximized. And when they leave this great university or any great university, and to me that's not good. And so we're on a mission to change that. That set in motion some things that I'm trying to put in place here to make sure that those things don't happen. And I'm sure it's the same concern of many coaches across the country. When you start thinking about 1 out of 3 for some reason doesn't survive it, and then another one just doesn't for some reason, just doesn't become excellent, just becomes a guy that becomes a number. And we're going to do the best we can to avoid that. You can't look into the crystal ball and see evaluation of what will, all recruiting classes. I love the people who do the recruiting class evaluations down the road. We recruited a class one time in Florida that went on to win more games than any other school in any other team in the history of the SEC. That's a pretty good recruiting class. We've had others not as good, so that remains to be determined how this class will be remembered. However, a very eventful day today. We woke up went to bed last night with 3 guys that were very on edge as far as where we're at. And I thought if we hit 1 out of 3, it'd be all right. 2 out of 3 would be a good day. 3 out of 3 was going to be a knock it out of the park. And we hit that when Von Bell called me 2 minutes before he walked on the stage or whatever he's doing and said, I'm in. That's what he said. I'm in, right? I said, no, I didn't know you were in. Congratulations. And we hit 3 out of 3. So very, very pleased. Our first year together as a coaching staff, last year did not count because that was not a coaching staff. That was a bunch of guys coming together like a bunch of gypsies trying to find players anywhere we could find them. And we did pretty good. If you look at those kids who helped us play this year and the futures of last year's class is pretty strong. But I wouldn't consider that a great recruiting effort. That was, like I said, a bunch of cowboys out there trying to find players. This year was a full cycle of recruiting. And very impressed with our coaching staff. Some, I'm going to name a couple, not to devalue some of the other efforts, but some of the efforts were, I've seen some really good efforts. Everett Withers, from start to finish, his effort on Von Bell, as good as I've ever seen. And it's the octopus approach. Surround him, wrap your tentacles around him, and every person in his family, his coach, his people, his support group. And the way he closed that, the way we finished that with that young man, and the way we handled it on campus, and you just saw it when we saw his press conference today. I was so proud of the way he handled himself and the fact that we did it the right way from start to finish, and that's all about a relationship, to go pull the guy out of that area of the country and have him be a Buckeye. Tom Herman did an excellent job down in Texas, an area that traditionally has not been real strong for Ohio State. I wish I could claim I have more experience in Texas. I've been there quite a bit. But Tom set the wheels in motion, and we pulled 3 excellent players out of excellent football state with Mike Mitchell, JT, and Dontre. And then the effort of Tim Hinton in state. I think Jalen Marshall is a young man that if he was a guy that wanted to play the game and wait till signing day to put the 8 hats out there, he could have whatever many amount of hats he wanted. He made a decision because he loves Ohio State, wants to see his family to watch him play, and I think he's everybody knows he's one of the finest players in the country, and he's even a better person. So those are a couple examples of, I think Luke Fickle did a great job with the 2 backers we got. We got Mike Mitchell and Trey Johnson. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on with Trey Johnson, with people trying to pull him in certain directions. So It is you're going to hear stories about it's a feeding frenzy out there. It is. And sometimes you'll hear people say, say, okay, Ohio State or myself or someone say you offer, committed players. Let me make this real clear. Everybody does that, and it's not wrong. Okay, at the end of the day, the young person has a right to go to any school he likes. If one school is better than the other, fits his personality. If something's going on illegally, that's a whole different animal. But at the end of the day, the 17 or 18-year-old man has a right to go to any school he wants. So when some school comes after Trey Johnson full speed ahead, I might get worried, but you can't get upset because if he wants to go, if it's a better situation for him than Ohio State, whose choice is it? The media? No, it's not your choice. It's not the coach's choice. It's the 18-year-old's choice and his family's to go to whatever school he wants. So our coaches did a really good job, especially in the Trey Johnson situation, hanging on with both hands and once again surrounding himself. So very pleased with our coaching staff. And now we go from recruiting phase to preparation phase. We've got to get them ready to play because really we don't redshirt here at Ohio State. We're going to recruit guys and get them on the field as fast as we can when they're ready and push them to be ready. And that's the same thing we do when we tell them when they come visit our campus, that we're not recruiting you to sit for a year or two and then we'll try to get you ready. We want to go recruit guys that are ready to go jump in the fire and want to go play as soon as they can. So appreciate you being here. You can tell it's a great day. If you walk around here a little bit, guys are excited. And I think on defense, I'm going to just real fast, I can ask the question. What were your needs on defense? Really all positions. We said we needed back end help. No, we needed all the way across. We're a little bit light on defense, and I think we answered a lot of our concerns once we developed them. On defense, you can see the back end, the secondary players are all long players, which means good size to them. Obviously, good speed. Backers, we have 2 impact players we're projecting, and then defensive line, we really got some big guys, and we really got some good defensive ends too. So we really get a couple good solid, some great players on the defense line. We're hoping. On offense, the one area that we didn't close well enough is the offensive line. We wanted to get some playmakers, and we have 2 sub-10 500-meter players coming in here, which is real fast. 10 500 meters is kind of a benchmark that we're going to use from here on out. And that's what we're looking for. You have to have a couple of guys like that on your team. It's a big plays are a problem for us. We have I think Dontre and Jalen and James Clark. So we have actually 3 guys that we would put in that category. So with that said, I'll answer any questions for you.
Open up with Bill.
Dispatch. Where is the talent level now on this team? When you took over a year ago, obviously it wasn't exactly where you wanted to be. How close are you to being where you need to be? And how much development is needed?
Well, talent level was pretty good. We went 12-0. I think we were built a little differently, but to say that we didn't have talent, I've never said that. We maybe didn't have the home run hitter, explosiveness, open space players on offense, but you know what? Some guys really grew up and did a good job for us. Philly Brown did a nice job. We don't have enough. When you run an offense where you want 3 or 4 split guys all the time, you only have 1 or 2, that's not enough. So I think we're starting to get a little bit of that built up, where you're having a Jalen that can put out there, Dontre can play that. That's kind of what he's going to do as well. And you can break the formation a little bit and have guys in space. So that's the only, that's the only area. If you say, boy, Ohio State wasn't very talented, I won't say that at all. Ohio State was talented. We just didn't have enough making miss guys on offense. Would be the one area. I think we addressed that.
Right front, Tim.
Tim Meyer, Dispatch. Urban, a couple, but number one is, how would you describe this? SEC country, you went down, you got James Clark, Von Bell, some other guys. You go to Texas, you get 3 guys. You go to, including a guy that was going to Oregon at one point. How would you describe what you're doing as far as transforming this program, I guess, and what you're after?
Well,
even Von Bell maybe, comment about SEC.
Well, we recruit Ohio, and what happened last year is we got behind the 8 ball a little bit, that we're not going to offer a player until we get to know him. So this time last year, we closed a class. Next week, all of a sudden, offers started jumping all over the place to the in-state kids in Ohio. And I'd never met them. The one advantage you have, we're already knee-deep in 14 players, 2014. We didn't have that luxury a year ago. And so some of the kids are really committed. Right out of the get-go, where's my offer? I'm like, well, we like to see you in camp, we like to get to know you a little bit. So we were behind the 8 ball a little bit. I would rather get probably another 3 or 4 from the in-state from now on. You know, we're much further ahead now than we've ever been, since I've been here, which is a year, but we're much further ahead. So we would rather not be so much national. I do want to cherry pick and tech from now on. We've got a presence in Texas. Cam Haywood and Roby really helped us. You know, once you get a couple, you start getting more. They really helped us in Georgia. Ohio State has history in Florida. My background's in Florida, so we got a couple of players out of there. The Texas was a new one, and Tom Herman's footprint on that, that really helped us. So we much rather have more of a base here and then start branching out a little bit later.
But is there a certain athletic type you're definitely looking for now that, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, us and 130 other schools.
yeah.
Yeah, the guys that run really fast and they're tough. I think, you know, I heard about Von Bell, what he said and all that. I think there is a little bit of a chase going on after the SEC. That's fine. That's you gotta give credit where credit's due. You know, if that's a perception that we're chasing them, that's fine. I wouldn't disagree with you. We're trying to, we want to increase our speed on our team a little bit.
And last thing, toughest battle, what was the toughest battle from your vantage point of the guys you've got so far?
I mean, Von Bell was, that was a street fight. That was, up until 2 minutes, I was on a treadmill because I couldn't take it anymore. I went up there on a treadmill. And I'm sitting up there, I wanted to get away from our coaches there, and wherever it was driving me nuts, I had to get away from him. And he walked up, and I just got the phone call when he walked up. So that was probably, and Trey Johnson, there was nonstop. There were a couple SEC schools that were just ruthless, I shouldn't say ruthless, they just did a good job. They're going after them as hard as they could. And we hung in there and we got it done.
Right front, Austin.
Austin Ward, ESPN.com. If you look at the two classes, it seems like last year you had so many guys on the offensive and defensive lines. This year there's a lot of speed, skill positions, and obviously you always want them. Is there a bigger priority last year on building on the inside and this year expanding that outside? Fair to say that or not?
I think last year was a big emphasis on D-line, but we were just shooting, for sure. We were just trying to find the best players possible that had interest in Ohio State. You know, this year was a concerted effort to go find fast guys. And we had to, in the back end, we're going to have 3 safeties walk out the door next year that are good players, so we had to get some safeties. We had, we had Travis Howard and Roby. Travis is gone, Roby was almost gone, so we had a big emphasis on corners. And D-line is every year, you have to sign that many D-linemen. The area that we had to do a little better job is offensive line. The offensive line, we got 2. We're going to have 4 starters walk out the doors next year at this time. You know, we're not prepared for that. And so that's emphasis area number 1. And 1A, 1B, 1C is offensive lineman for next year.
With those skill guys, is that a position that is feasible for them to come in and contribute right away?
Sure. Yeah, I think we've had great success with skill guys that can come in, and whether it be a corner, whether it be an offensive receiver or something that, especially these guys, I think they're gonna help us.
Back row left, Clay.
Yeah, Coach, you had a couple of guys reference Alabama today, Von Bell, for sure, kind of similar to Tim's question. Obviously, I'm guessing they got that from you, going after Bama. Are you declaring war on Bama today? I need a down bite.
No, absolutely not. We have one rival, and that rival has been dictated quite many years ago. One rival, and that rival's clear. And they had a good recruiting class as well, by the way. That's good for the Big Ten Conference. But I think any time that you're in SEC country recruiting, I think any time teams start talking about who's the king of the hill right now, those words might come out of people's mouths, including mine once in a while. But no, make it real clear that there's one rival, there's one person we're going after, and that's our rival. That was dictated many years ago. So.
Middle left, Dave.
Urban, this I know this past few months, been a whirlwind this past year. I guess going forward, I guess it's hard to imagine the amount of energy you guys have poured into this recruiting. Going forward, what's your take on the new rules that will allow you to pour even more energy? Maybe not allow you guys to never get
Bad stuff. It's stuff that we're going to have to, Big Ten Conference is going to meet. I'm putting together a personal letter to all the coaches in America that I disagree with most of them. And I know there's some people, I would imagine not many of them recruited who wrote those letters. You know, that's my question, who comes up with that? And have they actually gotten a car and recruited sophomores in high school and said, think about this for a second, unlimited mailings, and you can mail them whatever you want. Just take a deep breath, and whoever said that, put that in motion. Could you imagine what's gonna be rolling into kids' driveways? And fatheads and magnets and, I mean, it's nonsense. So no, there's gonna be a lot of conversation, I'm sure, about that, but no, we're not, I'm not, I don't know, I don't wanna speak on behalf of Gene Smith, but I keep hearing deregulation. I'm not a big fan of deregulation, I'm a big fan of really firm, harsh penalties for people who break rules. Not saying just go, we can't follow all this stuff, so have at it. I don't agree with that at all.
Back row left, Kevin.
Kevin Noonan, BuckeyeGrove.com. Coach, you talked about the relationships you have to build with recruits throughout the process, specifically with James Clark. You guys got involved mid-January, he said today after committing. I mean, have you been involved in all your years with somebody that you've come together that quickly with? I mean, there was another school that he spent many visits to and ended up picking you guys over them. Have you been in one like that?
No, that was a unique situation. We actually had contact with him early on, but no, that was a unique situation. Dontre was much different. Dontre, Coach Herman's being, I remember talking to him in last February. So that was a year-long recruiting process. You're right, James Clark was kind of we had a young man tell us he was coming and not coming, so we went and tried to find the best receiver we could get our hands on. When I saw his film, met him, found out what kind, he's a 3.9 student. He's got a fantastic father, and I know that area really well. So we just dove right into it, and he turned out to be a great fit for us. So that's very unusual.
Middle left, Dan.
Dan Hope, the Lantern. Can you look at where this program was last year when you took over, coming off of a tough season, coming off of a scandal, and where it is now, coming off a 12-0 season with one of the top recruiting classes in the country? What can you say about the transformation of where you've been able to take this program from when you started to right now?
Well, I think it's obviously very different. It's I use the term flavor of the week, it's momentum, whatever it is. There's a lot of good stuff going on here, but this is the kind of place that should be going on. So a year removed, I'm very, if you had to say, are you pleased with where we're at? Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with where we're at. I think our guys recruit really hard. I'm still, fundamentally, we're not where we need to be as a football team, but we're working hard at it. We have good coaches, good people, great support staff, and most importantly, walk in the locker room, there's a bunch of players I love being around. And I speak when I say I speak on behalf of our coaching staff, so I'm very pleased with where we're at.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, being at 82 instead of 85, that effect
It's
anything
awful.
you did?
Yeah, it's horrible.
What was the effect?
You can't take 3 more players, and it's like a toothache. Every time you say, okay, let's go, well, we can't. Let's go, we can't, and then you start juggling the numbers. So yeah, it's significant. Those are 3. Someone says, well, you only have 3 scholarships left. Wait a minute, that could be 3 Braxton Millers or John Simons or so 3 scholarships is a significant balance. It's not easy to deal with.
Did you have to back off any kids that you had?
Yeah, we probably made a couple of mistakes. Yeah, we probably made a couple of mistakes. No, we had to back off some guys some offers were there, and we said, no, we're gonna have to pull that offer. And that's hard to do sometimes.
If you get one more today, will you make your number in August? I mean,
Tim, I'm not prepared to answer that. Well, we will make the number in August. So that's a problem if we don't.
yeah.
Second row left, Bill.
Urban, what are the possibilities since you listed as an athlete as Troy Smith was? How do you see Wilson?
Oh, Dontre Wilson? I'm sorry.
He's listed as an athlete.
Oh, okay. I see him being a potential dual threat, hybrid. You might hear the term that became kind of famous back when Percy heard the Percy name and all that. He's a guy that can run inside, outside, and also go. He had, I want to say, Tom here I saw 46 catches or something.
700 yards receiving.
700 yards receiving, and they had, I think, 1,800 yards rushing. So there's not many people in the country who can do that. That's what was most appealing to me when I saw that, along with the 20.800 200 meters. So that's a very unusual athlete. So to answer your question, he'll be able to do both.
Middle, Dave.
Dave, Middle Bucknuts. Coach, you mentioned you went 3 out of 3 today. You would consider that knocking it out of the park, and you did that. Von Bell, James Clark, and then you're waiting on one more that you can't mention that you feel good about. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, Von Bell, James Clark, and Dontre Wilson were the 3 that were
Oh, Dontre Wilson you referred to, okay.
Right.
And then you're waiting on one more, and you feel good about the one you're waiting on?
Yeah,
Okay,
we've been told good things.
okay, thank you.
Back left, Matt.
Just wondering what you talked about getting on the treadmill. What's emotions, what's it like in here when you're waiting on a Von Bell or?
Awful.
Is
It's terrible.
it a game day type feel? What is the?
Yeah, it is. It's, if you could bottle it, I'd not have it around me very often. No, you know what's fine though, it's fine if you feel your team's prepared, if you're ready to go, it's not that bad a feeling. It's just sit in the locker room, get ready to go play. It's that when you're not quite sure. Did we cover this? Is this group prepared? Is this guy prepared? Did we cover this? That's a bad feeling. Same thing with recruiting. With Von Bell, I mean, I say awful, it really wasn't awful, because I was very involved in that. I know the guy that recruited him, and it was as good a job as I've ever witnessed. And it was good people you're dealing with. So if he would have called me and said, you know what, I'm going here, I said, I love you, I wish you well, because you've got a great family, and you've got a great life. And it wasn't nonsense going on. If you know, we all have a million stories about where we think there's, just things that shouldn't be going on, and you're not being honest, and people aren't being honest with you. That's when you don't feel good about the situation. But that situation, when you guys, you'll really enjoy meeting Von Bill and his family, first class family.
And you mentioned Jalen Marshall, that he's one kid that had waited, you get it. Are there kids on this list, fans and everything, that wrapped up in those last few guys? There's guys that you had committed a long time ago that signed today. Are there, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there some guys that you think people aren't thinking about right now that you're equally excited?
If you don't mind, I'll take a couple minutes to go through them. I think we have two corners that, if they didn't really commit, would be as good corners as there are in America, and that's Eli Apple and Cam Burrows, and they're doing a fine job for us right now. I think JT Barrett, when he did the Elite 11, and some of the feedback we got from him, if he didn't hurt his knee in some situation, he didn't really commit, he'd be another guy we'd be scratching and clawing and have a parade for him if he would have came on signing day. Joey Bosa, without question, one of the best players in the country, and a guy that committed early. The other guy, where's our Billy Price? Billy Price is 6'4", 305 from Austin Town, Fitch High School. That if he would have been one of those guys that put 9 hats out there, that he would have thrown the Ohio State hat, there would have been a big celebration around him, because we believe he's that good of a player and that good of a person. So that's just Evan Lyle turned out to be, he's probably the most improved. He's the guy that we had to really think about taking his development, and he comes from a great high school, Centerville High School. He's one of the, I talked to some coaches who coached him down in the All-American Bowl. He's one of the most improved players. He started over some other big-time athletes. So, and then the name you say is Jalen Marshall. He's the guy that I just have a great relationship. We all do have a great relationship with him and his family. The first-class people that, I just vision him. Not that I wanted to do. I'd rather recruits do the way he did it. But you imagine Ohio State University and the state of Ohio and Buckeye Nation, if he would waited and put on a hat, that would have been a great day. Because he's certainly, we think, if not the best player in Ohio, one of them.
Time for a couple more with Coach. Rob?
Rob Aller, dispatch. Urban, you're obviously the closer. I'm curious about the openers, your assistants. When you put a staff together where you've been, how important is their ability to recruit? I don't mean just work hard. There's maybe a gift there. I don't know. Can you speak to that? I mean, do you have to research guys and
Oh yeah, that's number one. That's number one. The way I evaluate coaches and the way I look when I put a staff together is go out and find quality student athletes is number one job description. Number two is you take care of your group, your players, and the third one is then you can help us put together us offensive defensive schemes. Offensive defense schemes in college much different than pros because it's number three on the list. Number one is you got to go find players. If you as a coach can't bring in a good player, your value, there's no value. It's the lifeblood of what we do is finding good players.
was it just a break that Tom was into Texas where you knew that, and so that's part of the whole idea of bringing him in?
No, that's all part of the deal. I mean, whenever you hire a quarterback, I'm not being completely honest with you, the coordinator is a little bit different. But I knew very well Tom had a background in Texas, and I knew he was a good recruiter because I did that homework before we hired him. Very good recruiter.
Last one for Coach Rusty.
You talked about your chief rival being Michigan. They got 9 guys out of Ohio. Are they coming in to challenge you as much as
Well, they've always been down here.
More so lately, perhaps.
I haven't been here, but I understand it. I asked that same question. They've always been, the school's always had great Ohio players on there. Heisman Trophy winner too. Yeah, two?
Yeah.
So they've always, I mean, Ohio's, it's not just them. I mean, everyone's doing, you're gonna come to Ohio and get great players too. There's well-coached players in America in the state of Ohio. It's old-fashioned football, it's old-fashioned coaching. And the one thing I love about the players in the state of Ohio, the respect factor is there, in my opinion, is greater than any state in the country, where the high school coach is still in charge of the program. When you go meet with a player in Ohio, you're gonna meet with his high school coach. And that's, you can't say that of all the states across the country. And that's my favorite part about recruiting the state of Ohio. Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
very much. I'm going to bring Adam up with Coach Herman.